If you've got a LinkedIn newsletter in 2026 and you only use the analytics to check the views, then you're probably missing out on the most commercially valuable part of the entire dashboard because LinkedIn quietly updated the analytics around your LinkedIn newsletter. And for an expert led business owner, this isn't just a small update. This is going to help you to see if your newsletter is attracting the right people, right? So we're not just interested in the number of subscribers. We want to make sure that we're speaking and getting in front of the right people, our aligned, our ideal clients. I'm Chelena, also known as the LinkedIn Lady. I'm a LinkedIn and a visibility strategist. I work with solopreneurs, expert-led business owners, helping them to get visibility, helping them to become known as the go-to person in their space. I primarily work with female entrepreneurs over the age of 40. I've helped women to get speaking engagements with blue chip companies, to find their ideal clients, to promote and market their books. And what I'm sharing here is by no means fluff. This is from my own growth on the LinkedIn platform, but also in supporting my clients. I also have a community of over 270 members, men and women, helping them to grow in their strategic use of the platform. So let me get into why this update around LinkedIn newsletters is of importance to me and why you should even care as well. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the new updated LinkedIn Analytics dashboard. I'm going to call out the various sections, the things that a expert-led business owner, so coaches, consultants, freelancers should be thinking about in regards to those various sections. I'm interested in how they benefit us commercially, how they allow us to use LinkedIn newsletters more strategically. And if you're wanting to use LinkedIn more strategically to generate leads, to get clients, to boost your brand awareness so that people see you as the expert, the go-to person in your space, be sure to subscribe to this channel because that is exactly what I talk about over here. So let me get into the update with newsletters. And the reason why I care about this update and why you should too is because a lot of business owners are investing time in creating LinkedIn newsletters, right? But they're treating it just as another content piece, just another box to tick, right? So they write something, they glance at the views and the analytics just casually, and then they move on. But that's a really shallow way to use your newsletter. If you are an expert-led business owner, your newsletter isn't just content, it's actually an authority asset. It's your body of work, it's your expertise, your insights, your intellectual property packaged into a beautiful gift that you give to potential clients, you give to collaborators, you give to amplifiers of your message. And now with these analytics that we're being given, LinkedIn is actually giving us more signals as to whether these assets are actually doing their job. So I want to walk you through this with a business lens. So put your business goggles on, right? So we're not looking at this through a content view, but the business, the commercial side of things, right? So again, not interested in what the buttons do, what the toggles do. But as I'm going through it, think to yourself, like, what should I actually care about? What are these numbers? What are these metrics telling me? What should I do more of? What should I do next? So let's get into the walkthrough. All right, so first let me show you where this lives. So when you've logged into LinkedIn on your desktop, I'm going to be showing you this on the desktop. Go to your profile, so click on your avatar. And then what you do, if you scroll down to posts and activity, this is one of the ways. On LinkedIn, there are many ways to do a single task, but that's one of the ways you can get to it. So this will take you to your activity. And then if you click on this more drop down and select newsletter, right, this will bring up your newsletters. So you can have up to 5. I think I have about 3 at the moment. One is active, the others not so much, right? So click into the newsletter that you're wanting to get to the dashboard, And then up here, if you click on View Analytics, right, so once you're in there, this is what you're going to see. So right at the top here, this is where you're going to be able to see the date range. So you can go back the past 7 days, right back to 365 days. I would probably encourage you to maybe go back to the past 90 days, so 3 months, because that's going to give you a really good amount of data to be able to make decisions with. Looking at the past 7 days doesn't really give you much. You could be looking at a blip. So go back, I would say, to the past 90 days. And one thing I'll call out here, the date range is actually really important because it only applies to, we'll get into trends, and it applies to article totals. It doesn't apply to subscriber demographics or the new subscribers that you have. And why is that important? Why does that matter? So the dashboard is essentially showing you two things. So it's showing you recent performance in terms of your newsletters, but it's also showing you the bigger picture in terms of who is actually in your audience or your subscriber base. So bear that in mind. I think making that distinction is quite important because a lot of people tend to just think short term in, as I've said, the past 7 days, those spikes, and assume that that is a reflection of their long-term positioning. And it's not. You can end up reading the data completely wrong if you focus on the wrong time window. So let's get into trends, right? So this is the first section that you come to, and you can toggle between article views and new subscribers. Now, article views is showing you how many times a member has actually clicked on one of your newsletter editions to actually view it, right? Whereas new subscribers is showing you how many members actually subscribe to your newsletter in that specific time period. So what I want you to notice here is that the two things are telling two different stories, right? So a view, so article view, is going to tell you that someone was interested enough to click, whereas a subscriber tells you that they want to hear more from you. And that's like a whole different level of signal, a whole different level of intent. And for an expert-led business owner, I would argue that a subscriber is a stronger signal and what you should actually be optimizing for. Because if someone subscribes, right, they're not just casually consuming, right? They're opting in to hear from you again. And I think that that's really important and it matters. Now, LinkedIn also shows you the percentage of change compared to the previous period. So can you see here, it shows you, it's up by 2,082% over the past 90 days. And that can help you to spot momentum. Did a certain topic create a spike perhaps, or was there an angle that you came at that attracted more subscribers? Did a specific title perhaps perform better? That sort of thing is what you start to look for. Not just did it do well, but you're looking to see patterns, you're looking to spot trends. And it's in the trend section, so that would make sense, right? And just a quick note here, right? In 2026, people are paying more attention to content that is specific, that's intentional, and clearly tied to a topic. So the more targeted, the more nuanced, the more sophisticated your newsletter is, the more useful these trends and these patterns actually become. All right, so the next section that you come to is the article totals. And this shows you a number of things. So you can see the impressions that you got, you can see the engagement, and you can see the article views. Now, impressions tell you how many times that your newsletter edition was displayed on a screen. It doesn't necessarily mean that they've read it. It just means that it was presented, it was served on their screen. Engagement shows you the reactions that you got, the comments, how many times your newsletter edition was shared. And then the article views tells you how many times your newsletter was actually clicked through to be read. Now, this is where I want you to start thinking more strategically, because impressions are visibility and engagement is where your public actually interacts. But article views are a stronger signal of deeper interest, right? So we're not just going for a massive number in terms of engagers. Because they've liked it, it doesn't mean that they've actually read it. It doesn't mean they've actually clicked through to the newsletter article. So that is what we're going for, article views. And as a business owner, deeper interest is more commercially useful than just surface visibility. So if you have high impressions, but maybe your article views are low, I would immediately start to question your headline, your hooks, how clearly the value of the issue is being communicated. If people are seeing it, but they're not clicking, maybe your packaging is the problem. Maybe the way that you have titled your newsletter isn't clear. Maybe you don't have a graphic that is compelling. So looking at the packaging of your newsletter is important here. And if you have article views, but engagement is low, then maybe people are reading the issue, but it's not creating enough conversation. And there's not enough of an emotional pull to get them to actually engage. So again, all of this is useful, it's all data, and the numbers are telling you a story. I think the mistake that I see is that people look at it all in isolation. They just look at each thing individually and don't actually ask, what is this telling me as a story? What's the narrative behind this? There is definitely a relationship between your impressions, engagements, and article views. There is power in that, as opposed to those numbers stood individually on their lonesome. And it's really important that you do grasp this, because the fact that LinkedIn is giving us even more metrics, it's giving us even more data, is showing that LinkedIn is treating this as like a true email asset, right? So not just another content format that just sits on the platform. So when you look at article views, you're not just looking at it from a feed performance perspective. You're also getting a sense of whether people are clicking through from their email alerts, because they actually get notified in their email inbox that you have published a newsletter edition. And this is one of the recent editions. Let me show you an example of what that looks like. So if I back up and I go to a particular edition of my newsletter, right? So if I go into this one as an example, and then I click on view stats, this is going to show me here. Where is it? Right here. Right. So it gives me the performance of this article. And let me break down why they're calling it an article. A newsletter, a LinkedIn newsletter, is made up of a collection of articles, all under the umbrella of your newsletter wrapper. Right. So that's why it's called the article performance and article views. Right. So we can see when we drill down into a specific newsletter, get my teeth in, we see how many views it got. We see how many emails were sent in regards to my edition. And I see that the email open rates are given to me. So 30% was the number of email opens. And let me just speak to that super quickly, right? Because this is a really useful extra layer of data that we're being given. So email sends tells you that they actually received an alert. They got an email notification into their inbox. Whereas the email open rate is an estimated percentage of who actually opened it. So when you understand how your content is landing in inboxes beyond just your LinkedIn feed, that's really valuable data. And this matters because sometimes, right, your newsletter can look average on the surface in terms of public engagement, but actually be performing really well as an email asset. And that's like a different kind of value. So just as a rough guide, strong newsletters see open rates of anywhere between 25% right up to 40%. depending on the niche, depending on how targeted your topic is. So, with that context, we can start to see that this isn't just about vanity, it's not a vanity metric, and we're not just chasing numbers. What we're starting to understand, and the goal should be to understand whether your newsletter is resonating with the right people, if it's strong enough for them to open it, to read it, and to actually keep coming back. All right, so we discussed trends, we've discussed article totals. Let's move down now to subscriber demographics. Now, this is the section that I think expert led business owners should care about most, because this shows you information about the people who have actually subscribed to your newsletters. So you can see their job titles, you can see the companies. When you click on this drop down, you can see job titles, their location, industry. All this information is provided to you. And this is gold, because you're no longer just asking, is my newsletter growing? But you're asking, is it attracting the right people? And that is a much better question, because let's be honest, a bigger audience isn't always a better audience. If the wrong people are subscribing, yes, that's going to look nice on paper, but not necessarily help you in your business. It's not going to help you with your revenue. So, for example, if you are a consultant and you're targeting senior decision makers, for example, but your subscriber base is full of mid-level managers or freelancers, that's not necessarily a failure, but it's data. It's a gift to you that your positioning needs some work. It means that your topic perhaps is a little bit too broad. It means that your newsletter angle isn't like of interest to the right people. So you are calling forward the wrong level of buyer. So you'd need to tighten your headline angle. You need to maybe niche down in terms of your topics so that it speaks more directly to C-suite problems. And that's why I keep saying that this isn't just a content dashboard. This is a positioning dashboard, because it helps you to see whether or not your message is attracting the people that you actually want in your world. So if you are a coach or a consultant or an expert-led founder, right, this section right here is where I need you to like lean in and be serious with, right? Don't just rush past it, because when you start to get this type of evidence, right, you're no longer just making assumptions. This is where the actual money section is. All right, so moving down, this is the final section in the dashboard, and this is all about your subscribers. So this shows you your newest subscriber, your most recent subscriber at the top. And this is really interesting here, because LinkedIn is actually giving you buttons to follow them, to connect with them, to message them, right? Maybe they've followed you and you can follow back. And please don't take this as permission to start pitching people straight away. That's not what I'm suggesting. But what I'm saying here is that these aren't just random people. These are people who have actively said that they want to hear more from you. And that means that they're warmer. It means that it's not just a random profile view. They've raised their hand, they've subscribed to receive your content on whatever periodic basis you've set your newsletter to go out at. So this is really like relationship intelligence. That's what you have here in your hands. So someone who is subscribing to your newsletter is sending a stronger signal than somebody who just engages, just likes, and casually scrolls by. So again, this isn't a list to do a cold pitch. It's definitely a warm pool of people that you should actually pay attention to. So these people, nurture them, notice them, build familiarity with them over time. So when I'm looking at these dashboards as a strategist, I'm not just asking myself, how did this particular issue perform, right? I want to know, is this attracting the right people? Is it strong enough to be able to earn the subscription? I want to know, are people seeing it versus are they actually reading it? And then I want to know, is it becoming an actual authority asset? Is it doing the work of making me the go-to person in my business? And is it the same for my clients? I want to find out as well, Is it building the kind of audience that becomes leads, become clients, becomes collaborators, becomes amplifiers and referral partners? That is really important as an expert-led business. And that is the shift that I need more of us to start paying attention to. Because once you start reading your analytics in that way, your newsletter stops becoming just another LinkedIn feature and it actually becomes a really solid business tool. And coaches and consultants, community builders, course creators, this is really important because what you're doing is you are deepening trust, you're building relationships, you're nurturing those relationships, you're attracting people that intentionally want to hear from you. They've raised their hand to say, I need to hear more of what you've got to say. So here's what I need for you to do after watching this video. Go away and check your LinkedIn newsletter analytics and go straight to your subscriber demographics. Scroll through, have a look at their profiles, their headlines, and ask yourself, are these the kind of people who I actually want to attract? The third thing that I need you to do is to click into like 2 or 3 of your individual editions and look at your email opens. Like, what are those metrics telling you as well? Check your sends, check your open rates, check to see whether certain topics got more engagement, check to see if certain topics seem to have a stronger pull, a stronger interest level in the inbox than others. And then the fourth thing is to make this a regular habit. So add it into your calendar. I always say if it's not on your calendar, then it's not going to get done. Add a date to review your newsletter analytics on a periodic basis so it actually happens. And if your audience doesn't look right, don't think to yourself, oh, I just need to post more. I need to put out more newsletters. Adjust your topics. Maybe you need to come at this from a different angle. So it's not about doing more, it's about being more strategic. And if this is landing for you, just drop strategy in the comments so I know who I'm rocking with, because strategy really is the gap with all of this. Because having the analytics is one thing, but analytics are not going to fix a weak newsletter strategy. They're only going to show you where the gaps are, and then what do you do with that information? And that's exactly why I created the LinkedIn Newsletter OS, because a lot of business owners are sat staring at a blank screen or publishing inconsistently. They're guessing their topics and then wondering why people are not subscribing. So it's absolutely not a writing problem, more so a systems and a strategy problem. The LinkedIn Newsletter OS has been designed to help you to plan, to write, to optimize, to repurpose, to convert your existing newsletters into other types of content more strategically. So it becomes a real authority asset with ease. It helps you to generate leads with ease. So if this video has made you realize that your LinkedIn newsletter could be doing more of the heavy lifting, I'll drop the details below for the LinkedIn Newsletter OS. Go ahead and check that out. And also, if you want to be in a community of other business owners who are leveraging LinkedIn with strategy, we are building with intention, we are going after goals that we're setting ourselves around LinkedIn and our business, feel free to join my free community, the LinkedIn Strategy Lab. Again, I will drop the details for that below. If you found this video helpful, be sure to subscribe. Let me know in the comments as well. Do you have a LinkedIn newsletter? And if you do you check the analytics? Maybe you're planning to start one. Let me know that as well. Like, let's have a conversation about all things LinkedIn newsletter and analytics. And I cannot wait to be back in front of you in my next video.